folks, there is more breaking news now. We told you yesterday that the judge in the Fani Willis decision about whether she should be removed, the entire DA's office removed from that trial in Atlanta, Fulton County, involving President Trump and about 15 others. And again, it's not just about removing her, it's removing the entire DA's office. Then a new DA would be appointed and could come in and try to continue the case, but they'd have to start from scratch or dismiss the case entirely. And things are continuing to get worse for Fani Willis and the special counsel she brought in, Nathan Wade, because initially Nathan Wade's former partner at his firm, who, remember, he took the stage initially, testified, but really claimed a lot of privilege. The judge of the case thought he was claiming too much privilege, Dad, so he brought him into the judge's chambers yesterday, and after that discussion is putting him back on the stand today.
So the point of the discussion was to determine if, in fact, what he was going to testify to was, in fact, privileged. If it's outside the scope of the representation, it's not. So that was what that in camera, when it was just the judge and him.
So basically the judge was able to tell him, these are the kind of questions you do have to answer. You're not violating privilege. You're not going to be in trouble as an attorney.
Right.
You need to give straight answers, whether it's yes or no, or that you don't know. But you can't just say privilege. I think.
But as a lawyer, you want a judge to tell you.
Yeah, and
you have to testify.
Especially because that was kind of happening, as we told you, that was happening very quickly that day. Remember, Fani Willis didn't have to burst into the courtroom and testify yet. Like she chose to do that. Then she was supposed to come back the next day, and her team is trying to claim, she
wisely decided she shouldn't do that.
Right. But now you have an extra hearing, plus more cross-examination, and then we know it's still an opportunity for closing statements. The question will be: does Fani Willis and Wade have to go back and have another time on the stand to
I think that
counter this?
Well, Wade's going to be in the stand. I think he's going to be in there today.
Yeah,
I would suspect he's going to have to testify. Steve Sadow, Trump's lawyer, will cross-examine him, and it's a hostile cross, so you can ask leading questions. And he's going to have to correct things he said. He was under oath, so it is conceivable that the two people that are in real trouble in this are Fani Willis and Mr. Wade.
Yeah, and this is because, again,
if you lie to a judge under oath, that's a felony.
They were under oath when they said that they saw each other prior to the defense attorney said it started prior to the hiring. They said no, it didn't start until 2022. And then they've got these phone records and times and the 35 visits and the trips that they've taken together.
But this is different. They said that when the relationship started. Let's put all that aside.
He will have to answer.
Put all of that aside.
He'll have to answer that today because he knows.
Correct, because that's not going to be deemed privileged for whatever reason. So if it's not privileged, the real question becomes then, who was telling the truth? Well, the records tell the truth because they're records. Now, they don't pinpoint you to a house. But if you made a false statement under oath to a judge in a live court proceeding, that is a felony under Georgia law. So both of them, if this is what it turns out to be, could be the prosecutors could be charged with a felony. Here's the message. Don't prosecute ridiculous cases because you end up in trouble, prosecutor.
RICO together against
which was never a RICO case.
Right. And then bringing in someone with no experience, that's why initially people started investigating Wade himself.
Right.
He wasn't, usually a DA would bring in a RICO expert, and he wasn't.
Right.
Never done one, and I don't think he'd ever done a RICO case.
Correct.
So bringing him in, paying him that much money, and he's not a specialist, raised everyone's suspicions from the beginning. So it gave something for the defense teams to start looking at. Wow, this case was just getting started.
They need to pause this stuff. Let the election take place. Pause the stuff because here's what's happening. And Georgia is the example. It's out of control. Yeah. We look like a third world country.
Right. I mean, again, you're starting the case, and now you've got a separate case within the case about whether the DA and the special counsel was brought in to bring this RICO charges should be disqualified from the case. And even now they've gone under oath. Did they lie under oath? And that it poses other issues if a new DA is appointed. So we're going to have that hearing this afternoon with Wade's former partner, and he was his divorce attorney as well, who mostly took the stand and claimed privilege, but now he knows what he's got to answer. That will be on camera probably this afternoon. And then you will see, again, do we see testimony again? Does Wade take the stand again? Does Willis take the stand again? We know that there's still closing arguments scheduled from the defense team and the prosecutorial team, and then ultimately a decision by the judge. That could come, again, I guess, by the end of this week. This is now in week 3 of this matter within the case. It has been a long time. And you've also, just to make it clear, people have this question as well. If this all got tossed,
yep.
If she gets removed from the case and the next DA comes and says, I'm not restarting this case, the election's about to happen, this is too much work to start with, and it was started so badly, starting from zero doesn't work because we're too far removed from the years this happened.
Right.
The people who did make plea agreements,
yes,
what happens to them?
They will file motions to vacate the plea. Those will definitely be granted, and their records will be removed.
And if they did pay a financial penalty,
they will get it paid back.
And what about you said there is even potential for them to sue?
Maybe even prosecutorial misconduct.
See how far this goes with the again. It's no guarantees that that Fani Willis is being removed, but it certainly even the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, which
the headline seems. I mean, look, we'll find out this afternoon that this is what you're going to find.
For it. The left is preparing for it.
Here's what you're going to find out. I mean, let's okay. You're going to find out that they made untruthful statements under oath during a trial while they were under oath in a criminal proceeding, where neither one of them were. She was not compelled to testify like that. There was still an open question. Right. She voluntarily did it. They both testified. Apparently, we'll see what it says. Now that the attorney-client issue is not there, that those misstatements were material. Material misstatements are felonies. So the people that could end up being in trouble in this, when it's all said and done, are the Miss Willis and Mr. Wade.
But remember, there was a witness to this. It was Wade's former law partner who was his attorney during Wade's divorce that he had. And so he testified during this early, but mostly was claiming privilege. And I think, again, he was being careful as an attorney because it put him in a weird spot. Because, again, you would probably want your attorney to do the same thing if it was happened very quickly. And so he kind of leaned on the side of privilege. The judge thought he was invoking it too much. So they had their in-cameras, what they call a discussion yesterday with the judge and him, and they've come up with what questions he has to answer that he cannot claim privilege on. And so we expect those will definitely go to when the relationship began. And does that contradict their testimony under oath, which says that the relationship began after, and there's been testimony that the relationship began before, that this was, again, all set up to benefit someone that you were in a romantic relationship with, and these trips and the money, and then the list goes on from there. Why did you choose a special counsel on a RICO case who's never done a RICO case before and pay him $700,000? Then the questions are, again, what happens next? Well, we know there's going to be a hearing today. He will not be able to claim privilege on all of that because he agreed to, the judge and him now know what he's got to answer from Trump's attorneys and other people's attorneys. And then there's definitely closing arguments. The question is, will we have more hearings on this? You could see the fact that Willis comes back to defend herself, or that you do that through attorneys or Wade as well, because they could be facing some serious problems, not just being removed from the case.
Jamie, you're on the air.
My question about with Fani and Wade lying, if they're found guilty of perjury, other people that they prosecuted, could they not bring that up and say, hey, this DA is a liar?
If she was removed and then in fact got criminally prosecuted, certainly if you had some evidence that you thought you were wrongly convicted because of wrongdoing by the DA's office, you're allowed to present that. I mean, you could certainly try and present that. Nothing happens automatically. And I would say, again, remember, this involves this special relationship that doesn't exist in really these other cases that I know of with Wade. So if that's very fact-specific to Wade, now if later on this turns into a criminal matter for her because she was lying under oath, yeah, I mean, people could certainly look at their case. It doesn't guarantee you anything because, again, you had the right to appeal then. But you could certainly, I think, look at it again and the way her entire office was operating. And was it operating, as you said, like on the up and up, or is there a pattern here? And we just saw it because this case is so high profile. So you've got much more high profile attorneys, 16 of them involved on one side of this case, and a lot of money exchanging hands on the DA side of this case, and a lot of politics at play that other cases usually wouldn't get. So no guarantees. Hey, there's no guarantees yet that she's getting removed. I think the left is preparing for her to be removed and for this trial to basically crumble. But there's no guarantees of that yet. We've still got hearings to go. We'll see what Bradley says.